The Supreme Court, temporarily at least, barred the Trump administration from deporting any more Venezuelan migrants it accused of being gang members under the Alien Enemies Act. Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito apparently had issued a dissent about that decision, but the dissent was extremely weak and half-hearted, it sounds like. This government is directed not to remove any member of the putative class of detainees from the United States until further order of this court, justices said earlier in a brief unsigned decision. Apparently, there was a bus load of Venezuelan migrants that turned around sometime just as that was issued.
The court had issued their ruling at 12:55 in the morning, 12:55 a.m., an emergency stay on these deportations. And we're still, NBC has that report, right, where we don't know fully if they were trying to if they were yet in violation of what the Supreme Court was saying. I think still that time frame is coming out. But it looked like they were trying to do what they did previously with the other judge saying that they couldn't deport these people to make the claim, well, they're already on their way.
Let's be clear. This stay was issued at almost 1 a.m.
Yep.
On, I guess, what would be Saturday morning. And I think there is actually video of a bus turning around, but it's unclear what the timing was.
That number 3 might do that, right, Russ? Is that if we wanted to play number 3, that includes some of that footage, Sam?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's play this just and to give you a sense of just there's multiple issues here, but obviously the biggest one is the failure of the Trump regime to allow for due process to establish that these people are who the government claims they are. There's another issue as to whether you can even invoke the Alien Enemies Act in this manner. But the primary issue is due process. There is the issue of due process as a constitutional obligation our government has. It is a duty our government has because every people who are within the jurisdiction of the United States have a right to due process. The other issue is just how bumbling and thuggish these ICE officers are. They're largely washouts or never could be's from other law enforcement agencies. They are basically being unshackled. They are rounding up whoever is easiest for them to round up. I mean, if they were rounding up all these dangerous gang members who are terrorist cells, we would be hearing about shootouts. Yeah. It's amazing how easy it is for these people to round them up. I mean, they're sending out 6 people to arrest a doctoral student on the street in Somerville. But supposedly we're rounding up all of these terrorists and not a single gunshot is fired?
It's odd.
These are invading, occupying forces, and they're just laying down their arms and walking away? I don't get it. I mean, that's the other aspect about this. How much BS even their premise is. Here is the wife of Judy Rahl. Her husband, Eduardo Dabin Rahl, is a Venezuelan national who was detained by ICE because of tattoos.
Today, Judy Maldonado Rawl driving 6 hours from El Paso to the Bluebonnet detention facility. Her husband, Eduardo Dabuin Rawl, a Venezuelan national, among them.
Why did ICE say that your husband was detained?
Because of his tattoos.
In this video she shared, her husband making a plea hours before his then imminent deportation and denying he is a member of the Tren de Aragua gang, saying we are simply being unjustly judged because of our tattoos. Dabuin Rawl's wife says he came to the country legally in 2023 through a parole program, which the Trump administration has since tried to eliminate. But a federal judge earlier this week temporarily blocked that effort.
Has he been charged?
No, we don't have any charges. He's never been given anything.
NBC News was not able to locate any state or federal criminal records for Dabuin Rawl. On Friday night, he says he was among the Venezuelans heading to an airport at the exact same time a federal judge heard arguments from lawyers trying to stop the men's deportations.
They were told, well, you were lucky you were sent back because you were going to El Salvador, not Venezuela.
Then they turned back to the ICE facility. Several of the detainees, along with Dabuin Rawl, recording via video call their own testimonials to family, arguing they're wrongfully accused and holding up their removal orders. The men's futures, with the Supreme Court's order now even more in question.
Vaughn Hillier joins us now from the White House. And Vaughn, the Trump administration filed a response to that Supreme Court order.
Jose, the White House is now formally asking the Supreme Court to stop its pause on these would-be deportation flights. And we asked DHS and ICE for more information on Dabuin Rawl's detention, but have not heard back yet. Jose?
Oh, wow. What a surprise. So they're not being forthcoming on that?
That was the group of migrants who were about to potentially be sent, or immigrants, people, who were about to be sent to that El Salvador torture chamber. And like, to just underline what the conditions are like there. The lights are on, blaring, LEDs, 24 hours a day. They don't get to go outside. They don't get to see a lawyer. They don't get to talk to a family member. They are packed in like sardines. There are mass reports of disease. Hundreds have died in this facility, SCOTUS, which opened only at the start of 2023. So it's been 2 years and change, and there have been hundreds of deaths there. They have no sheets. They have no pillows. They are stacked on top of one another and sleep in these like steel barracks. And there's mass abuse by these prison guards. That's where this man, this husband, who came here legally using the Venezuelan parole program that was put in place under Biden, was going to be sent to for coming to this country legally.
And as far as like, you know, the slippery slope here, you've got completely hysterical Democrats out there saying that we should not deport U.S. citizens to these jails. And this guy, Senator John Kennedy. Oh, wait a second. We pull up a tear sheet on this. Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, Republican, is out there now having to feel somewhat obligated to say publicly the president should not be deporting U.S. citizens to foreign jails. Is that not like, I mean...
Yeah.
And Gavin Newsom thinks it's just it's a distraction. When a Republican senator feels it's necessary to stake a claim that the president should not be deporting Americans to foreign prisoners, it seems to me there may be a bigger problem here.
Well, that's the thing. The Abrego Garcia thing, that's only really, there's a few reasons that that's the most prominent. One, because they admitted in court that there was a mistake, and that's why Stephen Miller tried to backfill it, saying, no, it actually wasn't a mistake. And he's also a union guy. But if we can send somebody there through any kind of accident and not get them back, then you can't send anyone there at all. And frankly, like that, it proves why you can't send anyone outside of your jurisdiction legally.
But we know that, and then that's the other point is that they're lying about that, which we saw, and that was part of what the Van Hollen visit was so important in terms of like what it accomplished, because this means, Sam, that Bukele can no longer argue that he can't release him because he did. because he took him out of SCOT or wherever he'd been transferred to after.
Isn't that part of the SCOT program? You get to go and have margaritas like once a day or something like that?
That's another thing. I want to correct myself because on Friday, it had looked like they had photoshopped it, but Van Hollen had a press conference later in the afternoon where he said, no. They insisted that we do this photo near the pool. They tried to do it, but then they settled, I guess, for the lobby area. And they had brought out cocktails with salt on the rim and maraschino cherries for a photograph, and then Van Hollen and his people took it away. So they were trying to make it look like, no, those horrible images that I just described to you out of SCOT that you're seeing, that's not the reality. We'll troll you and say he's actually at some sort of resort. But that also shows that they're scared about the politics of it, too. They undercut themselves by showing they can take him out. And then they also showed weakness, basically, about like their fear about what this looks like and how the rest of the public is reacting to it.
And we should note that there are 4 Democratic House members who landed in El Salvador as of this morning. Democratic reps Robert Garcia of California, Maxwell Frost of Florida,
Nice.
Yasamin Ansari of Arizona, and Maxine Dexter of Oregon are in El Salvador. They're planning to meet with officials at the U.S. Embassy to advocate for Abrego Garcia's release and get information on other detainees transferred to El Salvador from the U.S.
Good.
Frost, in a statement, accused the Trump administration of, quote, running a government-funded kidnapping program, illegally arresting, jailing, and deporting innocent people with zero due process, which Abrego Garcia is merely the latest victim.
That's a really important point, that there's a lot of people who are afraid to get their names publicized because of fear of retribution.
You're not going to have that many. I mean, you got to think about, like, even if, first of all, when you deport people, sending them to a prison is not deportation. Right. It's not deportation. If there are, and I have no doubt, well, I assume there are undocumented immigrants who were sent to El Salvador. I don't know what stage of the process they were in, a legal process. More than likely, they were involved in some legal process. That's how their names were on a list. But sending them to a prison is not deportation. Sending them to a prison without any due process or even what appears to be any evidence of any crime committed, like criminal offense as opposed to civil offense, I should say. So good for those lawmakers heading down there. And again, if a Republican senator feels it necessary to say that we cannot do the same thing with U.S. citizens, then he at least is aware of where they're heading with this. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.